Hey guys, RJ here with Story of My Life. Today is Labor Day, and I'm out with my kids. And there's a video I've been really wanting to make where I talk about my kids, and I've had a lot of challenges with it. Some of the challenges is because, one, I gotta be very cognizant of the fact that someday my kids might watch this video, and they they may have thoughts and opinions about the things I say in it because I'm talking about them and some truths. Part of the reason why I make this channel is because I want to be authentic and honest about the things that are going on in my life and the things I'm experiencing and how they affect me, how I feel about them. And the reality is that when I do that, oftentimes what comes out is not going to be pretty. It's not going to be feel good. And this is definitely one of those cases. And the other big reason why it's been challenging is because the scope of what I want to talk about is so massive that I keep going on these tangents. So, what I want to talk about is my experience being a parent of autistic children. So, I have three kids: a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old, A, S, and E. And A and S are both autistic. And to put it mildly, it's challenging. Now, I think one of the challenges I've had when I've tried making this video before is I was focusing too much on the symptoms and the characteristics and the mannerisms and all the things that people see about autistic kids. And I don't think that's really what's important to talk about. There are countless videos on YouTube about kids with autism struggling with all the characteristics and things that you associate with autism. Banging the head on a wall and screaming for hours in public and just flapping hands and all these things. And I hate watching those videos because I find it just so painful because I have to go through all that stuff. And I hate seeing other people do it. And I don't see much benefit in saying, oh, look, here's my kids who are autistic being autistic. That doesn't seem to provide much value. I think what provides value is the emotion aspect, the challenges of parenting autistic children, and trying to avoid talking about all the mannerisms and the characteristics and all of those things about how the kids act and behavioral issues as much as possible. So that's how I'm going to be approaching this video. So one of the things I'll tell people when I tell people that my kids are autistic, one of the things that I'll hear from people is that, oh, that must be so rewarding. And I want to get this right up out front. It is not. Now, my youngest, E, is not autistic. And it is very rewarding spending time with him, teaching him, helping him, being a parent and a father to him. It is very, very rewarding. Because you see him making these big leaps and understanding things and, starting to know the names of dinosaurs and be able to do basic math and try to count on his hands and as he figures these things out. And just going around and smiling and hearing everybody saying how wonderful it is to be with him because he's such a wonderful kid. And it is all that is so rewarding. And this is why it's not rewarding to be a parent of A and S in a very broad sense. Like, again, there's always exceptions. I don't want to say it's like 100% not rewarding. It's definitely, it's less than 50% rewarding. We'll put it that way. And that's because, like, take for A, for example, he does talk, but he talks less than what E does. And he is 6 years old, and E is 2. He doesn't follow instructions particularly well, not as well as E does. He doesn't have interests. Like, his interests are wheels spinning, not animals and dinosaurs. He doesn't understand math. He starts understanding quantities, like that 5 is a quantity, but he does not understand that 1 plus 1 equals 2. Um, and he he pretty much, yeah, there all these things about trying to teach him to do things. He doesn't want to learn to do things. He has no desire to learn or to engage in normal games and activities of that kids like to do. This is one of the big challenges when he was 2 years old. He would I'd try and play a basic game with him, maybe just roll the ball back and forth. And this is something that E, who is 2 years old right now as well, loves doing. He loves having I'm playing roll ball back and forth, or now we're doing kind of where he throws the ball, tries to catch it, all that stuff. A has never had any interest in doing that. He doesn't want to play other people's games. He wants to play his game and wants to play his rules. And at 2 years old or even 6 years old, the rules that they come up with are really stupid and they don't make fun games. And all of this, maybe there could be some reward if it also wasn't for all the challenges and all the frustration. And I know I'm trying to avoid talking about all the symptoms, but when you're having your child just looking for a way to hurt themselves because they're in pain and agony and they want to express it in some way, and the only way they can think to express it is by hurting themselves, and they try finding things to jump off of and landing in bad ways to deliberately to hurt themselves. And there's nothing I can do except to hold him, just so that way he can go and do it again the next day or the next week or the next month. I'm not building, I'm not growing, I'm not developing. I'm just trying to stop someone from hurting or even killing themselves. And that's not rewarding. It's exhausting. It is incredibly exhausting. Something else that's also really challenging is just even family, on the family side of things. People love to be a fun aunt or a fun uncle to nieces and nephews that are neurotypical, that are fun. And it's because it's so fun to go and buy toys and to buy gifts and to spend time with kids and be their friend, because they're filled with this just wonder of life and they like doing things. But that is not the case with ANS. I have 2 sisters and 1 brother. Now, one sister, she lives in the same town I do, and she never spends any time with the kids. And then my brother and my other sister, they live hours away. They never spend time with the kids. So they have no aunts and uncles. My grandparents, they live about an hour, or I should say their grandparents, my parents, they live about an hour away. And they'll see the kids about 8 times a year. And for a couple hours, they'll come in and they'll spend a couple hours with the kids. And one of the big challenges there for my parents is that my parents seem to think that I'm just a bad parent. And my wife and I are just bad parents. That it's not a matter that the kids are autistic, it's that we're not raising them properly and that we're just letting them get away with things. And they don't, they're getting better about it after, again, now several years, but they don't do anything to learn about the autism or how to help the kids with autism. They'll, we don't want the kids to have sugar and cake, and they'll bring cupcakes over. And it's so frustrating. It's so challenging. Even for the idea that, my kids don't know what their birthday is, and they don't, there's no way to communicate to them. Again, ANS it is. That their birthday or Christmas is coming around. There's no excitement about these things. And I get it. It's hard on my parents because they want to have normal grandkids. But at the same time, it'd be also just having some support from the family would also be beneficial, and we don't get that. And as far as my wife's side of the family, she's not from the United States, so they don't live here. She doesn't have anybody and they'll Skype and see the kids, but I mean, there's not much more they can do. But even getting support, you'll have like going over people and having friends and having a social life is very difficult because because you have your house in a certain way so that way kids don't destroy things. And you go over to someone's house and they have their house set up because they have nice things. They like nice things because I like nice things. I would love to have a house like that. But my kids like to destroy nice things. Like, my kids enjoy smashing things and just breaking things. That is something that gives them excitement and joy and thrill. And so it's very difficult to go over people's houses because the entire time I am just on red alert trying to figure out what are my kids going to destroy. How much of a mess are they going to make? And I don't have any ability to actually engage with people. Even going to church. I hope maybe there's some people at church, but you go to church and at the Sunday schools and the nurseries, they just give the kids candy. And they don't fit in with the other kids. Like, this was a big challenge we had with A, was we had taken it to church and you'd want to go to Sunday school. And there's like, okay, let's sit down and just color pictures. They don't want to color pictures, let's go play with toys. Which is what they do to younger kids, but he's too big to be in a young kid's classroom. And there's no place for him. And if there's no place for him, I can't bring him into the sanctuary because he's just going to be screaming the entire time. Or I can't say he's going to be screaming. He's going to be disruptive. It's probably a better way of putting it. I'll be a little more generous here. He would be very disruptive if we brought him into the sanctuary. So I have nothing I can do with him. We can't even go to church. And the doctors are also just pretty much useless. We've gone to a lot of doctors, and I had a couple experiences I want to talk about. There's one about this. We were wanting to get some genetic testing for Andrew. My wife was doing some looking online, and she saw that, hey, if the kid has this genetic marker, this can indicate that you might be able to treat it better with these methods. And so we said we want to go and get this testing done. And we had Andrew, and so we talked to, I guess it's actually a physician's assistant, and said we want to get the testing done, find out and get the marker. And they told us, no, we're not going to test for it because there are people online who will say that if you have this marker, that you can take these pills and it'll make the kid better, and we don't want you to go and waste your money on pills. Now, maybe it's all true. Maybe it is just hocus pocus and that this genetic marker doesn't make a difference. But if we do a genetic testing and we say, yeah, looks like he has it, let's go get these pills that she's talking about, which it wasn't even pills, but let's say, fine, get pills. We get this, our son to take the pills, and he starts acting typical. I don't care if it was completely coincidental and that it's a sugar pill that's doing absolutely nothing. If he's doing better, I would still spend money for it. It wouldn't make a difference for me. But here you have a doctor, a medical professional, trying to go and make medical decisions based off of financial reasons, trying to protect us financially. That's not their place, but that's the attitude that they have. Then you want to talk about finances. Well, they're going into all these therapies, and these therapies are paid for frankly, by tax dollars. Since they're autistic, they qualify for Medicaid, and So the Medicaid pays for all these therapies. These therapies, if we were going to pay out of pocket, are something like $100,000 a year per child. Now, do you think there might be a bit of a conflict of interest there? To say, well, no, we're not going to look at any other possible treatments because we're also getting $100,000 a year or $200,000 a year because of 2 kids. Maybe there might be some conflict of interest that they don't want to lose that income stream. And a therapy does very little. Like, this is the kind of crap that you're getting with this therapy. We took our one of the biggest challenges that we have with A is he does not eat well. He's a very, very bad eater. And we took him to this therapy. It's called ABA. And they're doing feeding therapy as part of this. And what they would do is they take a carrot, just a baby carrot, put it on a plate and say, all right, if you eat the carrot, all you have to do is touch the carrot and you get candy. So if he touches the carrot, he gets a bunch of Skittles. All right, great. If you kiss the carrot, you get him some Skittles. And he got really good at kissing food. Because if he kisses food, he gets Skittles. I don't want my kid having Skittles. I don't give my kid Skittles. Why would I want them to... Like, that's not how it should be done. And we found this out. Yeah, we pulled them out of the APA right away because I could not believe that medical professionals were doing this. Now, we have found things that seem to work well. It's not Western medicine, though. It's chiropractor. We have a chiropractor in town that we take him to. And, again, it's not making him... When he has certain behavioral issues, like, for example, maybe he's not going to the bathroom, we can take him to the chiropractor. The chiropractor does an adjustment, and he's able to go to the bathroom the next day. That kind of stuff. It's not making him normal, but it's helping in these certain situations. And recently, we had this, and this is the thing that really pushed me to get this, is that we had a big problem where A got sick. He got really sick. He actually ended up in a hospital overnight because he's getting dehydrated. He was throwing up. He had diarrhea. And he was just losing an incredible amount of weight. He already wasn't eating well as it was. And so took him to the hospital. And it's actually the day we got him back out of the hospital, my boss also, I was out of the office for several days at that point. My boss came to me and said, hey, we need you to resign. If you don't resign, we're going to fire you. And we'll just give you 2 weeks pay if you resign. The day we got him out of the hospital. Sorry, day after we got him out of the hospital. So, yeah, that happened there. And then, a couple weeks later, he started, maybe they're not related or not, I don't know, but that's kind of a challenge. A couple weeks later, he started having these weird things. Things like, he wasn't walking properly. And he even got to the point where he wasn't walking at all. He wouldn't swallow his own saliva. He doesn't play anymore. And this was back in July. Like, we're in September now. So this has been for over a month, pushing towards two months. My son, in a very short period of time, went from loving to go to a playground and playing in a playground, where now he doesn't play on a playground anymore. He used to go into his bedroom and he'd watch DVDs and loved watching DVDs. And again, I get it, maybe not the best thing, screen time, all that, but it would help him talk because he would go and repeat what they saw on the DVDs, and he would start practicing talking that way. And so it was really beneficial, and it was also really helpful because it allows us to get other stuff done because we're not having him around all the time. And now, instead of him going and watching DVDs, he doesn't do that anymore. He has no interest in it. Pretty much overnight, it happened. No interest in this. And now all he wants to do is grab onto my leg and wants me to just hold him every single moment of the day. And you can clearly see he's in pain and he's suffering and he's not doing well. And we take him to the emergency room because he's standing in, again, I'm going into symptoms here, but he's standing into a single spot of the room, screaming for hours because he's in clear pain. We take him to the doctor. Doctor says, yeah, we don't know what's going on. It's probably just behavioral, so you have to figure it out behaviorally. It's like, look, he's not swallowing his spit. He's not able to walk. Now he's doing things where he's like walking backwards everywhere, or he doesn't want to look at things. And the doctors aren't, like, I took him to a doctor afterwards and said, well, you got to take him to a normal pediatrician. So we took him to a pediatrician. And I said, yeah, he's not walking. The doctor didn't even look at his feet. We took him to the doctor, he's not walking. He says, yeah, it's probably just behavioral. And you're not getting help from these people. They're not, like, they're not there to help. And I try and bring this up, like, guys, can you do something? No, you got to go maybe go to neurology. Talk to neurology. Well, it's over a month before we can get to neurology. And here he is, suffering in pain, unable to walk, not looking at things, not being himself. Hey, bud. And what am I supposed to do, like, as a parent? And this is, and this is the challenge even, is in the United States, in the United States, in order to be able to have a middle-class lifestyle, you need to have two people working. My wife and I cannot both work. And I tend to be better with the kids. So I'm trying to do my own business. I'm trying to do stuff online. I'm not even trying to get a full-time job at this point. My wife has a full-time job. But it's not paying much. It pays $15 an hour. That's not enough for a family of 5, even in a city like we live in, which is not a very expensive city. And this is pushing us where we don't have many more options. We're running out of options. We're running out of resources on things that we can do. And there's just no help. And now we have to go and do some we're very strongly considering taking some very dramatic steps. Nothing illegal, nothing immoral. Just very big life-changing decisions, which we'll probably talk about later. And it's scary. And it's hard. And it is lonely. It is so incredibly lonely. Because even though I'm married, and even though I have my wife, if I go to talking to my wife and saying, oh, here's the challenges we're having with our kids, she's suffering for the same thing. She's also exhausted. We have no support. And unfortunately, this is the way it is, having autistic children. So, that's my rant for today.